Hi there, everyone. Welcome to this discussion session on Zoom. Today we're going to be covering lessons 22 through 28. But let's start with a quiet moment first. Please close your eyes and watch your breath. Just observe it going in and out in a gentle manner in your own comfortable pace.
So we lost Johanna, and I thought maybe she'd pop back in sometime in that moment of silence, but I'm not sure if she'll be able to rejoin us or not. Oh, hi, Derek.
Yeah.
So if we want, we can just hang out for a moment and see if she can come back.
So Susan has joined us and Derek has joined us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Hey,
Johanna
Ardith.
has left the building.
Oh.
She left us in a quiet pause.
Oh, that was nice. I'm glad you came on. At least I was wondering. So.
Yeah, I was too.
I peeked and then I thought, well, maybe she'll be back. And then I thought, okay, it's been a little while.
Well.
Would maybe we could just kind of move forward a little bit without her, and then I'm checking my email too, seeing if she sends an email out at any point and lets us know what happened. But
And Maggie, can you, is it possible, who's the host here? Peter is. Oh, it is recording. Okay, we're good. I just want to make sure we're recording.
is it still recording?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we were and we are, so we're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have no idea how that part works. So
Am I the host? I'm
Yep.
not the host.
Yeah, you are now. After when she disappeared, it Zoom decided that you're the
Oh, okay.
yeah, you're the host now. Don't go anywhere.
I think Johanna became enlightened and she left us.
I think that's the value of this group, you know, one by one.
she woke up.
One by one, we're all going to pop out of this.
Yes.
out of the physical.
Yes, once and for all.
Oh,
Great way to go.
Well, I haven't seen Derek without a napkin around his neck for a long time.
He's not eating? Oh, good. good.
No, I'm at work, so I might have to
Oh.
turn off my screen, but I'm definitely going to be listening.
Oh, please do. Please do. We miss
Mhm.
you. So
All right,
Well-
you
who's
want-
gonna be?
We'll jump
Peter,
in.
Yeah, jump.
All right, so why don't we're starting on lesson 22, I think. So we have
Yeah.
22 through 30, 29.
28. I think we do
28.
6 if we can even get to there. We don't know.
I actually can't share. I'm on my tablet, so I can't share a screen. But does anybody want to?
Oh,
refer to
Marguerite
the-
said Johanna's starting her laptop again, so she will be back with us, it sounds like, but
I can bring up, if you want me to bring up a lesson, Peter, on the screen share, I can.
who's FIP volunteer?
Or if
host?
somebody just wants to pick a lesson out of that they want to start with.
Oh, there she is.
Yep.
Da, 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 da.
For some reason, all the images froze and I wasn't sure whether you could hear me or not.
Oh,
Did
Well,
you hear prayer or did somebody else?
no.
We heard you say, why don't we focus on our breath? And then we all sat in silence for a solid few minutes.
Okay. Well, that was part of the plan. Silence
Yes.
a little bit, but not as long probably as it did last. Shall I do the prayer?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll share screen. It's from lesson. Oh dear, of course that's gone now. No, I'll look it up in the workbook. Yeah, because all my tabs have gone. 220. It's from lesson 222. It's a lovely prayer. Here you go. God is with me. I live and move in him. God is with me. He is my source of life, the life within, the air I breathe, the food by which I'm sustained, the water which renews and cleanses me. He is my home, wherein I live and move. The spirit which directs my actions, offers me its thoughts, and guarantees my safety from all pain. He covers me with kindness and with care, and holds in love the sun he shines upon, who also shines on him. How still is he who knows the truth of what he speaks today. Father, we have no words except your name upon our lips and in our minds as we come quietly into your presence now and ask to rest with you in peace a while. Amen. All right. I prepared a document and I'll have to start up my LibreOffice again in order to be able to share. There it is. In order to be able to share screen, and it's got the lesson titles grouped together because I thought that was there. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's got the 7 lesson titles together, and I grouped them because they seem to be linked together. Keith, would you please read all 7 lessons, the titles? Oh, maybe he's not, he doesn't hear. Oh, okay. Andrew, would you do the honors, please?
Of course.
Thank you.
Lesson 22. What I see is a form of vengeance. 23. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. 24. I do not perceive my own best interests. 25. I do not know what anything is for. 26. My attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. 27. Above all else, I want to see. And 28. Above all else, I want to see things differently.
Thank you, Andrew. What struck me is that the first couple of lessons are about vengeance and attack, and it comes back in 26 again, attack. And that's interspersed with 24 and 25 that I don't know anything. So here I am in an environment of attack and of vengeance, and I have no clue. And then 27, 28 say, above all else, I want to see things differently. I thought that was interesting. So we go from chaos to the desire to see things differently. Is there any of these lessons that any of you would like to focus on to begin with?
Number 22.
Number 22. Okay, that's the first one. Right. What I've done is I've copied the paragraphs that are about the content, and oh yeah, hi Keith. Yeah, I'll call on you in a minute. Now I don't know how to I'll share screen again. The chat box popped up in front of my share screen, so I couldn't see it. That's why I had to review it. There you are. 22. So I copied the content, and I didn't copy the instructions because I thought, we can all look at those instructions by ourselves, unless somebody wants to talk about them. But for the purpose of our discussion, I thought I'd leave those out. Keith, would you please read 22? If you're on mute, yeah.
Yes, be glad to. Sorry about that.
Thank you. It's okay.
Lesson 22. What I see is a form of vengeance. Today's idea accurately describes the way anyone who holds attack thoughts in his mind must see the world. Having projected his anger onto the world, he sees vengeance about to strike at him. His own attack is thus perceived as self-defense. This becomes an increasingly vicious circle until he is willing to change how he sees. Otherwise, thoughts of attack and counterattack will preoccupy him and people his entire world. What peace of mind is possible to him then?
Please continue.
It's from this savage fantasy that you want to escape. Is it not joyous news to hear that it is not real? Is it not a happy discovery to find that you can escape? You made what you would destroy, everything that you hate and would attack and kill. All that you fear does not exist. How hard is it to accept the idea that a threat in the world is not real, but a projection of the quality of thoughts you keep active in your mind?
Actually, that last line, that should have been a different color, but due to all the mayhem, it was the same color. That's the question that I thought up.
Oh.
So that's not part of the text.
Yeah, I was looking.
You were
That's a
thinking.
good question.
do you dare answer it? But
Not off the top of my head. I need to think about it.
yeah, but Sharon asked for this asked us to start with this lesson, so I'm going to call on Sharon. Sharon, go ahead.
Oh, no, it wasn't me that asked, but
I thought it was you. Whose voice was it?
It was me.
Susan.
Susan.
Oh, okay, Susan. Sorry, go ahead, Susan.
What would you
mind?
What is your question? Oh, okay. So I was really interested to hear what people had to say about this. Was the first lesson that really bent my mind, and I spent a lot of time reflecting and contemplating about it, and I deeply respect the message in the lesson. It just took me a long time to wrap my head around it. Does that
And
make sense?
have you?
Absolutely, it makes sense.
So you did in 1 week what took me like 30 years?
Well, I've been meditating for 28 years, so it's not, I
Yeah.
mean.
No, I'm not comparing, I'm just joking.
Yeah, yeah.
But does anyone want to share about that? Because it's a tough pill to swallow.
Peter.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So here's my take on all this, for what it's worth. my 2 cents. Today's idea accurately describes the way that anyone who holds attack thoughts in his mind must see the world. Having projected his anger onto the world, he sees vengeance about to strike at him. Here's the thing, somewhere, I don't know if it's in the text or in the workbook, he says that something, I'm going to paraphrase. I don't even know how to paraphrase it, but it's the idea that we don't see pain and evil all the time, because if we saw it all the time, then we'd be out of here. We couldn't take it. So the ego has to give us something that appears to be love, that appears to be happiness, that appears to be compassion or whatever. So for me, why is it so hard to see this is because if 24/7 I walked around seeing vengeance ready to strike at me, then I would have lost my mind a long time ago, and either killed somebody or killed myself or both, kind of thing. So I think it's this idea that the ego, he says you have a high tolerance for pain, but at some point even the pain becomes too much, something like that. So I think it's this idea that it's not 24/7. And so we think and he also says, we find hope in a hopeless place because we think, well, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. And so we try again, or we have a new relationship, or we have a new goal, and then it fails, but then there's something that says, that we can find hope in this. And so we try again. So I think that's the challenge. It's not 24/7 vengeance, although maybe it is. Maybe I'm just missing that. But there seem to be respites. There seem to be little islands of hope in the hopelessness. And I think that's why it's so hard for me to accept this. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Keith?
Well, what Peter said is the reason I quit the course the first time actually the only time I quit it. I just could not handle all the responsibility because I was seeing so much guilt in my life, and so that's the reason I quit and had a long pause before I returned.
And so how did you reconcile that, if I may ask?
I think it was just time. I think it was over a year or so, and I just kind of forgotten about that and decided I was ready to try it again.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Ardith?
Yeah, I don't have, for a change, I don't have a lot to say. I agree with Peter. I really think that's a very accurate assessment. And where we each go with it, don't know. I know for me it's not been easy. That's one of the harder ones, yeah. But I think all the other things that come into play, the other encouragements, probably kept me going. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Ardith. I have a question, Susan. The part that you had that was most difficult for you to wrap your head around was that the fact that all the misery and the cruelty is not real, or that the world is not real, or the fact that projection can do all that. What aspect was?
The power of mind to be able to do all of that. And then I sort of reconciled it a little bit differently from perhaps how Peter has, which is why I brought my question today. I wanted to hear what experienced people on this had to say, because for me, I came down to the very nature of the mindset of separation, of being separate, was a state of being in attack, of being not one. Seeing oneself as separate was a form of an attack on the whole, in my mind. And so then I could more readily embrace it as a continuous state of being when in a mindset of separate and not oneness.
All right, thank you. Maggie, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just clapping. I liked that.
Oh, you were clapping. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I thought that was very, very, very wise, honestly. And I know, I guess now that I'm talking, I'll just say that for me, I just really took Jesus up on the whole, don't try to force yourself to believe or understand if you don't. So in my early years of practice, something like this that just really didn't feel super comfortable, I would just allow myself to not really totally understand it or really feel connected to it. But over time in practice, it does feel, actually, I come to what Susan just said. So that's why I clapped.
I'm going to have to listen to the recording because I'm afraid I didn't totally get what Susan was saying. And now you're confirming it.
I think if and Susan, you can pop back in if I misunderstood and you want to further clarify, but I think what I heard Susan saying is that the simple thought that I am separate is an attack thought. And so long as you are thinking we are in the dream, that is all attack. And so that makes sense of it for her, of why everything is a form of vengeance. Everything is attack.
Okay.
I think she's nodding. Is that good, Susan? Or yeah?
Yes, it's a mindset not of the Holy Spirit. It's a mindset of fear and attack and separatism and all the things that go along with that.
I get it now. Thank you.
But it doesn't mean I'm right.
No, I think that's an understanding that's how to put it. That it's a logical conclusion from what we've read. So I understand it that way too. Now that Maggie has explained. That's how it goes. All right. Any other observations?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I hadn't thought of it the way Susan said until she said it. And then thanks Susan for saying that, because that just expanded my understanding of this lesson to a new level that I'd never considered at all. And I really appreciate the conversation, what Peter said and what Susan said, because the way that I've been looking at it is a much more, say, conventional, kind of narrow, just way of the way we project conventional repressed anger. Because I had a childhood friend who was in the military in Desert Storm and everything, and he was really traumatized from childhood and also from being a Marine sniper. So as he came into his late 30s and 40s, he had a mindset of attack and fear so much more than the average person, that he was always talking to me about how I need to, buy myself pepper spray, and you really can't be too careful. And this, I mean, his whole thinking was of how he's got to defend himself against bankers that are trying to take his money, people, and stuff that are out to get him, and his landlord, you name it. It was ridiculous to see how neurotic it became. And then right towards the end of his life, he passed away like 2 years ago. The last year of his life, he would go into like convenience stores, and random people in the store would attack him. And he'd tell me these stories. He would drop his pepper spray and it would fall on the edge of a table so that it would flip the case open and accidentally spray himself in the eye. So he was even attacking himself through these totally random chance occurrences. And when I listened to all these stories, I thought, oh my goodness, this lesson is completely what he's experiencing, because he's taken it to the ultimate level, to where the world is attacking him every which way he turns. So I had only thought of it in that very conventional psychological, we project our anger and we repress it, don't see it in ourselves. But now that I can see this bigger perspective, that's really been helpful for me. So thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Derek. Let's hold your friend in loving embrace for a few seconds. Thank you. Maggie, you wanted to add something?
I was muted. Yes, I think Sharon had her hand raised before me though.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
Go ahead, Maggie.
Oh, okay. I was just going to actually add to what we were just kind of discussing, what Derek was just saying too. That, yeah, for me, Derek, for a while, I really wasn't catching a lot of attack thoughts because I didn't have those very clear projected anger kinds of, and a projected attack, like literal attack. But I was just thinking we're going to move into this one soon anyways, but lesson 26, my attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. It was really helpful for me to see the practice examples. Right? The practice examples are to name things that you're concerned about, things you're worried about, things you're afraid of, right? And to recognize that those are attack thoughts. That was very helpful for me. And it's funny how I did the workbook a number of times and read these things a number of times before I really realized that that was true. And I got on the whole topic of self-forgiveness more so in the past few years because I started to realize that I'm not attacking others as much, but all my worries and all my concerns, all my doubts, those are attack thoughts. I'm attacking myself. And that blew it wide open for me too, and feels very related to what we're talking about.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's have a look at 26. Where is it? Over here. 26.
And Sharon's had her hand up for a while. I don't know if you can see those, Johanna, can you?
No, I looked at Sharon's rectangle, but I didn't see her hand. But if you'd like to share, go ahead, Sharon. Sorry.
Well, no, that's okay, because mine jumps from 22 right to 26.
You mean what you wanted to talk about?
Right. And I didn't want to bring 26 in too early, but it really, for me, it really kind of correlates to this.
Yes, it does. Would you like to read it?
Which one? The
26?
Yeah, sure. All of it, or just?
But on the screen, I've selected a couple of four paragraphs.
Okay. Is it the first 4 paragraphs?
It surely is obvious.
It is surely obvious that if you can be attacked, you are not invulnerable. You see attack as a real threat. That is because you believe that you can really attack. And what would have effects through you must also have effects on you. It is this law that will ultimately save you, but you are misusing it now. You must therefore learn how it can be used for your own best interests rather than against them. Because your attack thoughts will be projected, you will fear attack. And if you fear attack, you must believe that you are not invulnerable. Attack thoughts, therefore, make you vulnerable in your own mind, which is where the attack thoughts are. Attack thoughts and invulnerability cannot be accepted together. They contradict each other. I really need to stop right here because it's taking me too far away from what I wanted to.
Yeah, go ahead. Share in between, no problem.
This really takes me back to when I was a teenager having a conversation with my my brother-in-law, and he was saying to me, "You are way too vulnerable. You need to protect yourself." And he didn't mean physically, he meant emotionally and mentally. And as I was listening to him say that, somewhere in my mind, there was a thought, I wouldn't say a voice, but a thought that was not mine, saying that is your best asset. And I didn't even really know what that meant. I just knew that I never felt attacked, and I never felt worried about things, about people attacking me either mentally, certainly not physically. I never thought of that. But so when I came to this this lesson, number 22, what I see is a form of vengeance. I, I have to say, I really didn't kind of understand it. And once again, I felt that voice saying, it's okay, you don't have to understand it, just do the lesson, just do the exercises. And it's like, okay, good, I can do that, but I can't really wrap my head around vengeance. And I've always had a problem with anger, not a problem, but I've never understood it. I can remember as being a kid, and my sister would get so angry about things, and we would get in fights. Well, our fights amounted to her literally physically attacking me. I was always a little bigger, even though I was younger, and I could sort of get her in a hold where I could hold her and keep her from hitting me or doing anything to me. And I can remember wondering, where does that rage come from? Because I never felt it. So I don't know if I have this elaborate system of denial of everything, but I've never really understood anger and never really experienced it. Certainly mild irritation and small forms of anger, but and of course the course tells us it doesn't matter how small it is, it's still all the same thing. So I understand that too. And I just trust spirit to kind of lead me along and show me what I need to know, because I do have a problem, not a problem, but I don't understand anger and what makes people so angry. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Sharon. Ardith? And after Ardith, Peter.
Yeah, I understand what she's talking about. I really, really do. I was talking about somebody just yesterday about this issue about anger, and I said, honestly, I can count on two hands the number of times in my life, and it's a long life. I think I'm probably older than most people here. I haven't blown up at somebody just two hands worth, and I can't even remember what they were. Most of them, one or two maybe. I have felt aggravation. I've felt all those little things that are equal to anger, even though they seem small. But I have come over the years to understand more why certain people go into rage. I mean, the extreme expression of it. And what it's done is it's made me be more empathetic, I hope, and given me more of an insight into how much we all need love. And I think it's maybe my lack of anger, except not one period of time. I will say, when I was a kid, I went through a year of temper tantrums. My mother cured me of that very nicely. But I think it's just made me feel more. I hope it's made me feel more others' pain and through the anger. So I don't know where I'm going with that. Other than she's not unusual. I bet there are lots of others too, and I just wonder if maybe they also learned another lesson from their lack of anger expression. Maybe somebody else here has also had something similar. I don't know, but thank you for letting me say that.
Thank you, Ardith. Peter and then Andrew. Thank you.
So I'm one of those anger repressors. I didn't know until very recently, I had no idea how angry I was, because I was always Mr. Calm and collected, and I never had any outbursts. And, after years of that, it just built and built and built. And what it is, I'm afraid of my anger. I'm afraid of because I grew up receiving a lot of anger, and it terrified me. And so I can see, and I have health issues that for me now, it's very clear. It's all about repressed emotion, unexpressed, unacknowledged emotion. And so for me, but here's the thing I've learned about anger. When I'm angry, I'm really afraid. So anger is always preceded by fear. And fear is the absence of love. And so what I've been, according to the course, and so what I've been doing is number one, just allowing myself to feel those feelings, because I've never allowed myself to feel the fear or the anger, not to the fullest extent. And then number two, it has really been a process of how can I bring love to this moment, especially to myself. And what that has allowed me to do is I used to be very reactive to other people's anger, where it would just trigger me because of my own unresolved anger. And now when somebody is expressing anger, even if it's expressed at me, I'm able to not go there, and instead to have compassion and understanding and say, wow, this person needs some love. You know, now there are times when I recognize, because I still think I'm a body, I got to get out of the way. I don't put myself in harm's way. But if I can safely remain in physical proximity, it now becomes, okay, can I bring love to this situation, to this person? You know, and I've had a few instances where it's completely transformed the situation, you know. And now I recognize that I have to do that for myself, because there are still times when I'm really afraid, and then I recognize I'm really angry, and I try to bring love and compassion and understanding to myself. The last thing I'll say very quickly is I'm actually listening to a book right now, which I highly recommend, but I'm not going to mention the name because it's not course related. But the gist of it is that it's in the welcoming of the negative emotions that they flow through us, and it's in the resisting of the negative emotion. And for me, like I said, I was terrified of anger because I was brutalized in some way, emotionally brutalized by somebody else's anger as a child, and I just became so afraid, and then I repressed the fear. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for sharing that. Andrew, Maggie, Ardith.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody's comments. I'm really enjoying it. I just have a brief thing. I can relate to both sides of the coin. I used to be a person who angered very easily, driving in traffic or just doing a job and not going well, or working with other people I would get angry with very easily, until I started to practice the course, and it really turned my life around. And I am the total opposite now. I'm more the way Sharon is, very mellow. And it made a huge difference in my life. It actually literally has. And I'm very happy about that. I think that's all I really have to say. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that, Andrew. I can see it in you. Maggie.
Yeah, I raised my hand before Peter spoke, but I would just, I guess, echo that I have a very similar experience of repressed anger due to childhood emotional abuse, essentially, at the hands of someone who is very angry. So for some folks, that could be the source of it. But also, Sharon, it just occurs to me sometimes, and I don't know if this is right, but it makes sense to me, and I reassure myself with it sometimes, that the split mind, right, the different characters might just have different layers of things to work through, right? Like the Maggie character maybe works more on anxiety and fear and guilt, and because that's the stuff that I feel more of, whereas I'm sure there's plenty of lifetimes where I was a very angry individual and I had to work on that as well. But I do also echo Peter's sentiment that I find that it is in me, is highly repressed. But as I start to scratch the surface of it, there is some rage in there. It's just buried down real deep, and it does show up in physical symptoms. So those are little clues, I guess, too.
Thank you, Maggie. Ardith?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I recognize while you were talking, I was listening to everybody, I recognize very clearly the reason I didn't identify with this very visible anger, and I don't feel that I've repressed rage, although I have issues, obviously, which have to go in that category because they're not really love, towards myself. But I realized why I didn't have these big things with anger, because my parents, as the years have gone by, I realized I had saints. They were probably further along than I ever imagined. No course, no nothing, but they they were just so kind and so understanding. And so we had little things here and there, but whenever there was a crisis, the wagon circled, and it was just that kind of a wonderful gift I had. How I came, maybe you all come in groups together. I don't know how that works, but I'm just very grateful. And if I can, that's how I can listen and really listen to people when they tell me the stories that I've been hearing here. And I go back to the page 28 in the course. I just want to be truly helpful. And maybe this is one of the reasons why I feel that way, because I don't feel that kind of rage. I have other things, as I said, that I need to issue or work on, but I'm not denying it, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm just kind of, I guess it's being used for another purpose, and I was wondering maybe if somebody else felt similarly. So thank you.
Thank you, Ardith, for sharing that. How lovely to have parents like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. But a thing that I thought I might add, and I don't know if that rings true to any of you, is that even if I'm sort of like Sharon and Andrew, I don't feel a lot of anger, irritation sometimes, and I know it's the same thing, but it's not like, I go ballistic. I hardly ever do that. But angry thoughts are in my mind, or I wouldn't notice somebody else blowing a fuse. And that's, on occasion, I am present when somebody else blows a fuse. And why would that happen in my presence if it wasn't reflective of content in my mind? And so I think it's not so much the issue to recognize it in you, because if you recognize it, it was already in the light. The whole thing is that these things are repressed and they're not in the light. And the only way to see them is to experience them, or to see them in the world around you or in the body. And so anything that's not love is fear in some type of expression, and needs to be brought to the light according to the course. Sharon?
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know that I think that if somebody goes off in front of you, that it's a sign that there was something in you or you wouldn't recognize it. If somebody goes off, in your presence about someone else, don't you think it could be that that's happening because you are there to give love?
Certainly. And if that's your initial impulse, then that is it.
Yeah.
But if it bothers you, at least I'm speaking for myself. If it bothers me, or if I have to keep myself from responding, trying to control myself, that's a sign that something in me is resonating with what's happening, even though it's not specifically my anger, it's that person's, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But that's when I feel emotionally tied to it. And like you said, if I'm there as a messenger of God, then I'll know.
Right.
Yeah. Ardith, your hand is still up. Do you want to add?
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to turn it off, but I'll just make this comment with you. I think that's, we're all going to feel, I didn't want to make it sound like I'm some kind of a weird creature here. We're all going to feel that, exactly what you're saying, Johanna, even if it's not our anger. If we feel that, and we all will, then that means that we need to work to let the Holy Spirit work on us about love. It all boils down to exactly what it says, the removal of the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. And whatever degree we think we experience anger, or just think about it or relate to it, it's still there. So our job is not done, as they say. So for my money, I'm just going to keep trying to do as I do and be honest, and to look, this is a wake-up call. Every one of these lessons are, and when we talk about them, to reevaluate how I look at something. And I've really gotten a lot today in listening to the different viewpoints, and I'm going to really take it in myself to see what's what and see how I can be more open for the next step. So thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing that, Ardith. Keith, your hand is up.
Yeah, back to your example, Johanna. It's my understanding that even if it doesn't appear to be me projecting something that I identify with, just the fact that the other person has triggered something in me It's my understanding that that's our opportunity. So it's something to be welcomed, even though it's not pleasant. It seems it's something to be welcomed.
Right.
Well, that very true. Thank you, Keith. I have a hard time welcoming it though. When something like that happens. It's good that you mentioned it, and I have to remember it's not happening to me, it's happening for me, right? That's the whole difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and for me at least, if it's worth welcoming, that means for me, it kind of means that love's behind it. I mean, love is presenting this angry person in front of me as my opportunity to forgive. So in a strange way, whatever's behind that, what that other person did, I'm just repeating myself.
No, I get what you're saying. It's love is behind presenting it in the pace and in the dose that I can handle. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and it's an opportunity to forgive, so that's going to benefit both of us. So
yeah, totally agree. Thank you, Susan.
This is a great discussion. Thank you for bringing this stuff up. It strikes me that when I am witness to somebody losing it, that I see it as they've lost sight of themselves. They've lost touch with who they really are, because it's like to Keith, to your point, I almost see it like a theater stage, you know, where we're all just actors in bodies doing stuff. And when, excuse my language, but when somebody loses their shit, it's like, well, that's because they're lost from who they really are. I don't see it as a judgment, but more of a call for love, more of a like compassion, a demonstration of what we ourselves as human beings have demonstrated to whatever degree in the no hierarchy that there is. We've all experienced to some degree or another. So whether we are demonstrating that behavior or we're witness to it, it's all the same. It's absolutely all the same.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Maggie loves it too. I do too. Derek, your turn.
For some reason, as Keith was speaking, I was just thinking about these many times in my life where I witnessed something like we're talking about, and it's an opportunity to be the love and to forgive, and I'm triggered and I'm reactive, and there's no way in the world, even if I do think to ask, it doesn't matter. I am so psychologically activated that it's game over. And I'm kind of passive aggressive, so usually I don't overtly attack. I'll just sit there and sneer and judge and have my righteous thoughts. But what I have learned to do is then go to my journal, get out of the situation, and then I'll write all those judgments on pieces of paper and how they're wrong because of this and they shouldn't have done that and I hate that, blah, 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 blah. I just get it out of my system, and then I throw the paper away or burn the paper, and then spirit seems to talk to me and give me some forgiving ahas or awarenesses, and I feel like that's where my growth happens. So I just wanted to say that I usually can't do it in the moment, but if I follow through, definitely there's some growth that happens, it feels like.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't all have to happen right on the spot, right? Yeah. And the shift happens when you've retreated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wonderful. Andrew?
Well, thank you. I love everybody's comments. But I just want to say, I think there can be a little bit of confusion about, we are responsible for what we see, and all that stuff. And you can get the feeling that like you're just by your thoughts, you can control your entire environment or a large part of it. And I think to a degree you can, but it's not always exactly, you can't always control what you want to control. And I loved Keith's comment about what you had said, Johanna, about your seeing someone who was angry and in your presence and not being able to control it, or I think we're here to observe and love, and we can't always control with our thoughts what's going on, but our thoughts do have a large influence. We just can't always understand the outcome, or we shouldn't have any expectations of an outcome. We just behave with love and practice the course to the best of our knowledge and be happy with the results. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Very worthwhile comment. Maggie.
I think Peter is waiting.
Oh, sorry. He's not on my, I've only got 8 rectangles, and so 2 people are, I switch around.
I'm here.
Yeah, I see you now. Okay, Peter and then Maggie, okay?
Thank you, Maggie. What I wanted to say was, piggybacking off of Andrew, what you just said, actually, this idea of responsibility, the way I understand the course, and I could be off on this, but everything that we think we see in the world is inherently neutral. There is no positive or negative in the world, and as the course says, we give everything all the meaning it has for us. And we could just as easily allow the ego to be our teacher in that situation, or the Holy Spirit. And so every situation is either a blessing or a curse, depending on how on which teacher we choose. And so I may not be able to, although I think in the long run, we can have an effect on what shows up in our lives. In the short run, I may not be able to change who's in my face today, but I can always change how I respond to that. And by recognizing, it drove me crazy. The first few workbook lessons, I see no neutral things, I have no neutral thoughts. It's like, and he's right. The course is right, because I give everything all the meaning it has for me. And then my response is based on the meaning that I give the situation. In my book, I'll plug my book, I say the meaning I give the situation is based on how I see myself in that situation. It's this idea of, who do you think you are? How do you see yourself? That's going to determine my reaction in every situation. And the more I see myself as who I really am, a child of God, spirit, and all of that, as opposed to seeing myself as this body, which is vulnerable, can be threatened, should probably look both ways before I cross the street, that kind of thing, then I'm going to have a different response in that situation. But in and of itself, the world is neutral. Even the most heinous, quote unquote, heinous events, that's just our judgment of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Maggie?
Yes, thank you, Peter. And I was going to say something on that responsibility point too. I was just going to say that for whatever it's worth, I do have a personal practice of taking responsibility for what I see. And so I do, and others don't have to do this if this doesn't speak to them, of course, but I do, if I'm around a person who's very angry, losing it, I do take that as that's something that is mine, that I've projected outside of me. But so to Peter's point about it really is neutral, and there's just which teacher are you going to look at it with, right? Because that's ego. If I look at them and say, boy, there's someone separate from me that's angry right now. I'm not angry. right? Like, I feel like that's still, that's the wrong t-shirt to look at it with, right? But I think spirit would say to me, yes, that is a part of yourself that is angry, and you see it outside of yourself. And to Susan's point about just thinking we're here being an attack thought, right? So if I think I'm here seeing a separate brother experiencing something separate from me, right, then it seems like it's an attack. It seems like maybe it's something negative. It seems like it's separate from me, but I'll probably find myself at some point, feeling that myself, because I'm perpetuating it by allowing myself to think that we are separate and that thing I'm experiencing could somehow not have anything to do with me. So I know for me personally, that's a very important part of my practice currently, is to actually take responsibility for everything that is in my awareness, even if it seems to be something I'm not myself feeling currently.
Thank you, Maggie. Very worthwhile. Derek?
I was just giving Maggie a thumbs up.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, right, yeah, I saw something yellow. Okay, I had one thought came up regarding and what Andrew had said, that you can control what happens in your life to some extent, but you shouldn't attach to the outcome in that train of thought. What I like to think, the way I like to think about it is quality. It's not so much that the thoughts I think I will see literally in the world, but it's the quality of my thinking. And how that pans out, I have no clue. But if the quality of my thinking is love aligned and is joy aligned and is peace aligned, then what I will see in the world reflects that quality. So that helps me to think of in terms of quality. We're almost at the top of the hour. Does any of you have something that they really would like to share? Then we still have a little while to.
Peter
I
has
just
his.
wanted to say real quick, responsibility is not the same as blame, and that's been one of the biggest things for me, responsibility. Sure. When I take responsibility, I take my power back, as opposed to, for most of my life, especially I used to be a lawyer, I used to think of responsibility as liability, responsibility as guilt. Yeah. And that's a very disempowering, for me, that was a very disempowering way to look at responsibility. So it's not blame, it's awareness, it's accountability, and it's ultimately me taking my power back. Thank you. That's
a very worthwhile distinction. Thank you. All right. What I'll do is I'll read a prayer. And then after the prayer is over, I'll click stop record, and please stay on for a little bit. All right. This is taken from the manual for teachers, the final paragraph of the manual. And Jesus addresses the student and invites him and her to walk with him. And now, in all your doings, be you blessed. God turns to you for help to save the world. Teacher of God, his thanks he offers you. And all the world stands silent in the grace you bring from him. You are the son he loves, and it is given you to be the means through which his voice is heard around the world. To close all things of time, to end the sight of all things visible, and to undo all things that change. Through you is ushered in a world unseen, unheard, yet truly there. Holy are you, and in your light the world reflects your holiness, for you are not alone and friendless. I give thanks for you and join your efforts on behalf of God, knowing they are on my behalf as well, and for all those who walk to God with me. Amen.